One of the big learnings that, we want to give the guest on this episode is we've got one of Kentucky's prime venture capitalists here. And I think a lot of people that are in the tech space, one of their, things that they dream about is being a venture capitalist.
For sure.
Especially for me. It's like you want to start a company and you eventually want to make enough money that you can help other people start companies and be successful. So when you talk about where you started, you had the ability to move from Nextel, come here and get involved with Chrysalis. Just talk about, that journey and where you might give people advice to just get started or begin working their way towards that path. Like, what are some things that you remember in your career that allowed you to do that?
Well,
other than capital, because that's an obvious one.
It's well, first thing I would say is it's not as glamorous as everybody thinks it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's great. I mean, one of the things I love about it, and I learned this really early on. I mean, if you're naturally curious, intellectually curious, and you see lots of different interesting businesses, it's fascinating, right? Yeah. It's like you get to kind of dig in on businesses. You get to meet a lot of interesting people. So it is fantastic from that perspective, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Right. And what people don't realize is when you talk about doing venture investing, it's a long game, right? You invest in companies. Yeah. There's a lot of risk, right? Which weighs on you, right? So, I don't look at, from my perspective, I'm not a guy that likes to lose. So when I'm investing in a company, I really, really don't want to lose my investment.
Yeah.
I want that company to be successful. So I take it personally if it's not doing well. So, there's risk. It's a long cycle, and there's a lot of hard work, and you got to really help it. So the first thing I would say is, it is great if you like the intellectual curiosity and all that type of stuff, but it's a lot of work. So just be aware of that. Second thing I would say is the traditional paths for getting into venture capital are you're either starting early as an associate and then working your way up, or you go out and build your own business, or you become an entrepreneur, or you become part of an entrepreneurial team and you have a successful exit or 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever the number is. And then because you have so much experience building and growing companies, you're now in a very good position to flip onto the other side and say, okay, I want to go invest in companies, and I have the experience to be able to help those entrepreneurs.
Like Reid Hoffman would be a prime example.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of them.
There's
a bunch of them, and they tend to be, the good executives, entrepreneurial executives, tend to be pretty good VCs
because they can read and see a good entrepreneur because they are one.
Yeah. I mean, they can recognize that. So you can go one of those two ways. My general advice, because the first route is so hard, right? It's like a needle in a haystack to jump into that. My general bias, and again, there's always exceptions, and there's all, people can, you can land in the right place at the right time. But my general advice is always go get some experience.
Yeah.
Go build something. Go be part of a team. And you don't even have to be the founder. Just if you're in a growing company, like, look, Nextel, I wasn't the founder of Nextel. I happened to get there at what I would call an opportune time, which was, I think I was at the headquarters. I might have been employee 10, somewhere in the 10 to 15 range.
Yeah.
Pretty early on at the corporate office, and that grew into what it did. So that experience, even though I wasn't the founder, I was part of the senior team pretty much my whole career, and that gave me visibility to a lot of things that I've seen that informs how I think about companies and how I try to help companies today.
Mm-hmm.
At Poplar Ventures, I'm trying to bring that experience to bear when I go invest in a company and give them the benefit of that and help them.